It's time to broker your way to the top of your fantasy football league standings. That's right. We've got our top 6 trade targets to buy or sell before week 3 of the NFL season. All this and more. It's a brand new IBT podcast coming right at you.
I've been going dummy, out of bounds, putting on a clinic. Stick around, carrots in my hardware. KC, caught him in the crosshair. Look at me, been the guy calling Mr. MVP. Keep your ass on the bench by my MPC. Earn my stripes like I fixed this league. Your dog's on the turf, my dog's in the street. You can find me somewhere in between. Never a dull moment like a movie scene. About to do the ops like I did this beat. Let them keep talking RG3. Coming to you live. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. And welcome into the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for both a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. We're just 2 weeks into the season, which means it's time to make some moves. So whether you're sitting pretty undefeated in your league or winless, we've got you covered with our favorite players to buy and sell ahead of week 3. We'll give you all this plus our top waivers, a week early targets, and early best bets. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and tonight I'm joined by quite the cast of characters, including a man who is so much of a big business, light ranch and son of a gun that people are calling him the next Jerry Jones. He's a diehard fan of both the Houston Texans and a little Cajun fixin'. He's Eric Romoff. What's good, Tex?
Man, I don't know how to respond to these Jerry Jones accusations. Does that mean that I'm a future billionaire or a horrific general manager? Also, despite being in the heart of Cowboys country, not a Cowboys fan. So missing left and right off the gate. But you are correct that we are heading in to week number 3. We're serving up some looks. We're serving up some losses to our opponents. We're ready to lock in for the 3rd week of the NFL season.
I'm excited for it. And Eric, it does fit, right? Your title here at IBT is, of course, general manager. So now you got to step up. Yeah, you have the business side of things down, just like Jerry Jones. But I need the player acquisition and trading and drafting to get up there a little bit better. All right, that's what I need from you here the rest of the way. Also joining us tonight, it's our entertainment and NFL betting expert here at IBT. He's Boston's boy, Steve Lawson. Steven, how are you after just a few short weeks of football being back in our lives for good, baby?
Oh, I lost you. That's my bad. I disappeared for a second.
We got you back now.
I'm back. Did you ask me a question? I heard Boston's boy, Steve Lawson.
Yep.
And then everything went to hell.
Well, how are you after just a few short weeks? Football's back in action. Obviously, a little slow moving out of the gates here with the internet trying to take you down right away.
I know. You know what it is I'm back home, back from Ohio. My computer doesn't know what's going on. You know what? I asked a lot of it tonight. I got to chat with a friend of mine that will be posting on here sometime in the future. But he's an Australia boy. I asked my computer to do a lot of work so we could get that interview done. I'm really excited though to talk NFL. Week 2 proved it to be pretty good in my little head canons that are going on. But yeah, no, Eric, I think you could be both a billionaire and a terrible general manager if you really work at it.
Yeah, Jera has proved this out.
I'm glad week 2 was good to you guys because for me in the betting streets, we were looking good. But like fantasy, it's just been so tough. Like even in my home dynasty league, I've been playing 2 teams that have been absolutely trying to tank, and I just can't like get over the hump. I haven't, I'm projected to beat them by 30, 40 points. And,
can I brag for a second, just for 1 second, that I am top 20 in Scott Fishbowl right now?
All right.
After some jabroni wrote, like did this whole like breakdown of everyone who's in the league. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And he ranked me the worst team in my division.
I like that guy. He usually puts me first. I've won the title to win my division about 5, preseasons in a row now. Never comes true though.
Totally called me out, said I had a terrible draft because I didn't draft running backs. And what did I tell everybody? I'm like, it's a tight end season. You boys in the top 20. Acknowledge me.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. We also appreciate the man calling the shots from behind the scenes tonight. He's a ginger. and he's a Yinzer. And yes, he's a former IUP Crimson Hawk, baby. He's producer Kyle Scott. Jim, how are you? Great to be with you yet again tonight, and also on the course over the weekend. What a time that was, my friend.
Oh, I had a fantastic time out on the links doing a full 18, doing some golf and some disc golf. Didn't play too well, but neither did you, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, it's great to be on the podcast. Great to be here with you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Last time, golf's one of those fickle games, Kyle, where you play great. We played great at the IBT Classic, one of the best rounds I ever had. And then we go out on Saturday, couldn't hit the broadside of the barn with the club. Once we brought out the disc, I played pretty well with the disc. Kyle did not have good luck with the disc either. Lost 2 of his favorite discs, a hole 1 and 3. So yeah, it was a tough go, but lots of beers were drank, good times were had, and hey, that's what we're about here at IBT. And as always, before we get into tonight's program, shout out to everyone who's tuning in. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content, and make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you're new. And also, if you want to keep getting more of us each and every single week, consider joining the IBT family. That's our premium community where you can get access to our full betting cards, a Discord chat with myself, Steve, Eric, Kyle, all of our IBT degenerate betting and NFL fantasy football friends. You're also going to get entry into our touchdown contest. We'll make our picks here later on the episode. You can get on that leaderboard, win yourself a nice plaque from Dynasty Decks. And also, this is coming your way for just $3.99 per month, $36 for the year. Also, this is going to get you access into the NASCAR family, and we have some more sports coming along the way as well. So excited for all those offerings. A link to that in the episode description. Make sure you're checking that out. And gentlemen, let's jump right into things here with a little temperature check for our buy and sell targets heading into week number 3 of the season.
Temperature check.
That's really spicy. Holy shit.
All right, it is temperature check. We're talking buys and sells, but first I got to shout out a couple friends riding alongside us. It's Ben hanging out. What's up, Ben? Great to see you. Hope you're having a great Tuesday evening. And of course, the reliable, the ever-present Albert in the chat as well. What's up, Albert? Hope you're having a great Tuesday evening. Thanks so much for hanging out with us yet again, my friend. And we are locked and loaded. Let's get some trade targets. And Eric, you weren't on the show last week, so I am going to cater to you. And let's keep things on the good, right? Let's keep things positive here. Who are you trying to acquire this week? And I know in general, some people say, hey, it's only been 2 weeks. We don't want to overreact, but we also don't want to underreact. And sometimes this is the most value can you get out of a player on the trade markets, or it's the cheapest you can get one. So I'm going to serve over to you. Who are you buying and selling? What's your kind of approach this week on the trade market as a whole?
Yeah, I'm gonna break one of my charter rules, one of the True North trading principles, and buy a little bit high. Travis Etienne is my buy target. He is someone that I was hyping up over the course of the offseason on these very airways. Hand up, I didn't think it was going to go this well, this quickly, but man, I'm happy to be wrong in this case, right? There was, obviously a lot of concern about many mouths to feed and a 3, 4, 5-way split in this Jacksonville backfield. And now fast forward 2 short weeks into the NFL season, and Tank Bigsby is traded away from the Jacksonville Jaguars in its wheels up season on Travis Etienne, who looks like the version of himself that was drafted very, very early, not that many years ago. So he is very much so coming off of a high. I don't think you can get him on the cheap or anything, but I do believe that there are Travis Etienne managers who have been burned in years past who might be looking to move on from him. So usually it's pretty difficult to pry away a high-performing asset from an opposing manager. I think there might actually be a bit of a trade market for Travis Etienne since we're working in a small sample size.
Who would you be trying to get for Travis Etienne if you had him, Eric? Or what would you be willing to give up, if you were going out there in the streets and trying to acquire him? Because I do agree with you. Like, I think he's going to be one of those picks that we look back and we're like, how did we let Travis Etienne slip into the 7th, 8th, 9th, sometimes 10th round in 12-team leagues? Like, he was going so late. And while we did see some Bayshall Tootin sightings here in week number 2, it was still Etienne who dominated the snaps. Tootin, I think, only saw somewhere between 15 and 25. I can't remember the exact number off the dome, but who would you be willing to move to get his services, Eric?
Yeah, it was 18 snaps for your beloved sweet baby boy, Bayshall Tootin. I mean, look, I'm a big fan of trying to create a bit of roster flexibility with a 2-for-1 type deal, right? So I wouldn't be opposed at all to moving on from like a Tyreek Hill even on a 1-to-1 basis. Or if you're going a little bit deeper, maybe you can target the Aaron Jones manager and see if you can't pull him for Jordan Mason and like a depth piece at wide receiver. That's generally the type of range that I'm kicking around for old Etienne.
Steve, what are you willing to give up for Etienne? Are you willing to buy in while the price is somewhat high right now? RB9 on the season, averaging 17.8 fantasy points per game. And it hasn't been on a ton of touchdowns. You know, he got the receiving score there on Sunday against the Bengals, but it's been some really good running, man. The efficiency is off the chart. So if you're a YPC guy, I think all arrows are pointing up for Etienne right now. The best we've seen him since really that 2023 season early on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely willing to buy Etienne right now. Probably because his value is still lower than it will be going forward, because it has only been 2 weeks. You can kind of you can still use that to your advantage in a negotiation. I'm probably looking to package something like, and it's going to be a little harder because of week 2, but like Cortland Sutton and a player like an Isaiah Pacheco. See if you can't snag that upside. You know what I mean? I know Sutton went earlier than him in drafts, but like you've seen what Sutton can turn into. He kind of can turn into a pumpkin at times, which is worrisome. And like Eric, I was in on Etienne a lot this offseason. Unfortunately, in my home league, I unfortunately wind up with a lot of Jaguars fans because it's a Florida-based league. So he went a bit earlier than ADP, but I really am in on Etienne. And it's Liam Cohen's offense is very run dominant, and it looks like Trevor Lawrence is not picking it up as well as he should be. So this run game is going to be leaned on heavier and heavier and heavier down the stretch, I think, and Etienne is just going to profit off of that.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where I think we all outthunk the room a little bit. I remember we put out a VOD over the summer that, you know, which Jaguars running back should you take? And some of us were on Tank Bigsby, not me. Some of us were on Bayshall Tootin. That was me. So it's like, but it's like really,
what were the rest of us on?
Yeah. I think split pretty down the middle. And so like I think I outthunk the room, and maybe it is Travis Etienne who's going to be this year's Bucky Irving. So great things ahead potentially for Etienne. I still don't know if I'm willing to like super buy high just personally, just because even in that 2023 season where he got me into the playoffs and I rode him to a championship, he wasn't the one who won me the championship at the end of the year. He kind of tends to slow down towards the back half of the season. So I think I would just be a little bit wary on that. For me,
what about my proposition where I offered up a 1-for-1 with Tyreek Hill?
No. I mean, I'm pretty low on Tyreek Hill, but at the same time, I just think there's people out there who will pay more for the name value for Tyreek Hill still. So, but
it is a decision. It's not a snap.
Will they pay? Wait a minute.
Yeah,
will they pay more? Will they pay more name value? Because right now Etienne's a top 10 running back and showing no signs of slowing down.
I know, but I mean, Tyreek
so like
Hill
you can get a sexier name. No, he's not.
Dude, is Tyreek Hill still Tyreek Hill?
I mean, I think to a lot of casual players, if you offer Tyreek Hill up, I think you can get something better than Etienne. That's just my opinion.
Tyreek Hill is one more to a sailed ball away from turning into Antonio Brown.
Well, that's a discussion for a different program as a whole. Maybe we'll do, what bums should you sell here next week? Tyreek Hill did not make the list. For me, my buy target, gentlemen, is Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. To me, this is the cheapest you're ever going to get him. And I have seen a lot of people saying this is the time to sell. But there's a couple points I'd like to make here. And the first is like, what if Jake Browning has gotten better since 2023? He sat behind Joe Burrow for a whole season. So I think that's something we can potentially consider as well. Also, check this out. Joe Mixon finished as an RB1 in 4 of 7 games. He averaged 18 fantasy points per game in 2023 with Jake Browning under center. Also during that time, boys, he had a rookie, Chase Brown, nipping at his heels. Chase Brown even had an RB one day in that stretch as well. So I think this is the time to go buy Chase Brown at a discount. And like even our friend over at Fantasy Pros, friend of the program, Andrew Erickson, he said he would trade Chase Brown straight up for Breece Hall. So like there are people out there where I think like I would gladly trade Breece Hall right now for Chase Brown, or some of these other more like if you might be able to give Etienne and something small and get yourself up to Chase Brown. I am willing to do that. That's the type of move I think you could make right now. The Bengals will always be trailing. So give me the guy who touches the ball on 95.5% so far of the running back touches in Cincinnati, playing 72.7% of snaps. The only time he's not on the field is when they're bringing in Samaje Perine just to pass block. Like we haven't seen anything from the rookie there on that team. So Eric, for me, I'm still wheels up on your all-in pick, Chase Brown. I'm willing to go acquire him buy low right now on one of my favorite players coming out of Illinois a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, you're absolutely preaching to the choir, and the reason why Chase Brown is not the name that I am touting tonight is because you beat me into the sheet. But Chase Brown is the picture perfect ideal state for a buy low candidate. The theory with him was it is about opportunity, right? He is going to have the bulk of the work in this backfield with his ability as a pass catcher and his ability to run between the tackles. And man, he blew that expectation out of the water. 93% opportunity share out of that backfield already. We talked about him seeing goal line work over the course of the preseason. He is currently the league leader with 5 goal line rushing attempts. So all of the preceding stats that would tend to lead to production are still there. Just production hasn't caught up quite yet. So I think whether it is for ETN plus something, whether it is for a 1-to-1 with a hotter starting running back in the first 2 weeks, I think that you are in good business if you are going out and acquiring some Chase Brown right now.
Steve, you're typically the heel of this particular program. So are you going to dump cold water on Chase Brown, who the volume's been there, and in a time where there's not many volume-based running backs, there's not many bell cows out there, if you would, what do you have to say negative about Chase Brown and why you wouldn't be buying him?
Yeah, what's so funny is I was about to bring up the fact that you guys do this to me every single week. You make me have to be the bad guy because of your just delusional takes for some of these guys.
We just gave out, like, those are some great.
They are
great
incredible metrics, except for the fact that Chase Brown is bad at the running back position.
No, he's not. No,
yes, he is. Yes, he is. By every metric, he is. He's not good at finding holes. He's not good at explosive plays. He's not good at finding the end zone. He's not good at taking advantage of the opportunity. He has an incredible opportunity workload and an absolutely abysmal
and
return on value.
Offensive line.
So, all right. So add into the fact that his offensive line is cheeks. The fact that you brought up like, oh, well, Joe Mixon did. This man is not Joe Mixon. And Jake Browning is not Joe Burrow. So, like,
Joe Mixon.
He's not better than Joe Mixon. In no world is he better than Joe Mixon. He's never been better than Joe Mixon. Like, it's not a fair fight. It's not Chase Brown's fault. He's just not a bell cow running back. He's a change of pace back that's being like shoehorned into this position because his competition is that bad. But this is a bad situation made worse, where he has a bad offensive line and now a bad quarterback, and he's not explosive. I warned everybody during the offseason
he's very
that
explosive.
He's not. It's like the metrics don't show that he's explosive.
This season, go look back at his 2023
even last season. He graded out terribly last season in terms of explosive plays. He's one of the worst running backs in the NFL at generating explosive plays. And for somebody who touches the ball this much to be that bad at explosive plays, I don't want 4 yards in a cloud of dust. He's not LeGarrette Blount, so he's not going to get himself into the end zone enough. It's not going to work out. I warned everybody about this in the offseason, and now it's coming true. And now we're doing mental gymnastics to make it seem like Chase Brown is just on the cusp of being what we are. And we'd trade Etienne in a thing. Why? Etienne has outproduced him significantly. Give me Chase Brown in a thing, and then we can talk about Etienne.
All right. Well, let's also not, just look past the fact that Joe Burrow is down.
Who do you take as a play caller 1-for-1? Do you take Zach Taylor or do you take Liam Cohen as a play caller designing run schemes?
Yeah, sure. That's totally.
Whose offensive line do you take?
Look, man, maybe I'm just old school. Maybe I'm the old head on the program.
Who has 90% plus of the opportunity in their back.
That's
still scoring less than Travis Etienne.
For right now, it's 2 games.
In 2 games. The rest of the season, I'll spot you 30 points and still
30
take
points,
Chase
I'll
Brown
take it.
over Travis Etienne. Your clearly fabricated stats about his ability to create yards downfield are apparent. Chase Brown, number 11 among all ball carriers in the league with 102 win yards. That is the combination of yards that are created by either forced missed tackles, by avoided tackles, or yards after contact.
Let's go. All right, Steve. There's if the jury's out there in the chat, let us know. Are you guys buying or selling Chase Brown? So I'm excited to hear from you guys. Steve, go ahead though. Who is your first buy target of week number 3?
Yeah, I'm buying Jaylen Waddle, the true number 1 in Miami, especially when it seems like Tyreek Hill is. I mean, listen, you can't do what Tyreek Hill did in that game, jumping up and down, throwing your hands up, showing up your quarterback like that after having the offseason that he had. This is not going to end well for the Dolphins in general. It looks like this whole thing is going to come crumbling down. But one thing that I see crumbling first is that Tyreek Hill will be shipped out of town. And it's just not going to stay. There's no kumbaya coming, right? So when Hill's gone, it's going to be Jaylen Waddle's show, and we're going to see a number of targets going his way. That's just a goofy number because there's no one else there to catch the ball. Like Darren Waller probably doesn't play a snap this season. Let's just be real. He's still hurt. He still can't play. And Waddle does look better. Like you watch the games, Waddle does look better. Week 1, he was hurt. Whatever. He had a down week. Week 2, he came out. He looked good and was, one decent throw away from really having a monster game. So I'm in on Jaylen Waddle.
I get it. I just don't want anything to do with him, man. Like just this entire offense. Like one, we already got Jaylen Waddle questionable for this week. Limited participant in Tuesday's practice. He was in and out of the game in week 1. I just don't know if he's someone I want to buy into, especially Eric, when I think this whole thing could blow up any second. I think there's a chance that Mike McDaniel doesn't get past Friday. If he gets blown out by the Bills, I think maybe a change is coming. If they lose to the Jets or Carolina in week 4 or 5, I don't know if we do see Mike McDaniel here. And, maybe Tyreek Hill's gone. Maybe he's not. But I don't think Jaylen Waddle necessarily has the profile as someone I want out there getting 11, 12 targets. He can barely, keep hold and keep on the field with getting 5 to 6 per game right now.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing if Mike McDaniel's out the door. Dude seems a little bit checked out, and it seems like his fairy dust on the offense has kind of lost its luster. I struggle with this one because ultimately, in theory, I completely co-sign on this idea of going out and buying Jaylen Waddle low. I was out on the All In Speed Run podcast with our friend of the show, Jake Seeley, 10 days ago or so, saying Jaylen Waddle is a phenomenal buy low target for all of the reasons that Steve so eloquently stated. My only real concern is that we know fantasy managers are prisoners of the moment, and they're going to look at a 5-reception, 68-yard touchdown performance in week 2 and might not let you get them for as cheap a price tag as you otherwise would. Maybe the injury question mark, counteracts that. But prior to this Sunday, I was going out and buying as much Jaylen Waddle as you absolutely could, because I think that the likelihood is, whether it is by Tyreek Hill forcing his way out of the Dolphins organization, whether it's him actually proving with a large enough sample size that he's not the player he once was, Jaylen Waddle very much so either is or soon will be the rightful wide receiver 1, and you can get him for pennies on the dollar right now.
Can I add, because I know we like to put our money where our mouth is on this program. It's part of what, adds to our credibility. In a dynasty league I'm in, I did trade Marvin Harrison Jr. for Jaylen Waddle in a first.
I mean, I'm fine with that deal.
I'm in. Yeah, I'm in on Jaylen Waddle.
Yeah.
You selling Marvin Harrison Jr. is the least surprising thing in the world. The only thing that's more shocking is that you had him somehow. I don't know how he ended up on your rosters.
Oh, because I had like a gazillion first-round picks in that league at one point.
I guess so. Jacob, we see your question coming in, man. We'll get to it here in just a little bit. We want to get through some more buys and sells for the great people, and then we'll hit that towards the end of the program before we get into our bets. But Eric, I want to throw it back to you here. Where are you going with your sell? Who's someone who maybe they had a big performance, maybe they haven't had big performance? Who are you either trying to sell high or sell low on as we head into week 3?
Yeah, following the same principle of buying low and selling high and doubling down on the fact that fantasy managers are prisoners of the moment, we have none other than once believed bell cow back Kenneth Walker III, coming fresh off of a 100+ yard performance with a touchdown, finishes with nearly 20 fantasy points depending on your format. And this is a week after he looked like he was completely buried in this rotation for the Seattle Seahawks and for Clint Kubiak. I doubt that it is as bad as week 1 might have showed us, but I also doubt that it's as good as week 2 has shown us. So now that we have some meaningful points on the board to turn around in point 2, I think this is the opportunity to move off of Kenneth Walker because it's likely somewhere in the middle. And moreover, Zach Charbonnet is going to be more involved than even the most optimistic of projections had him as we were going throughout the course of the summer. So this is your chance to hop off board. Kenneth Walker, despite the spike week in terms of his on-field production, his role and his opportunity actually decreased. He had 35% snap share in week 2. He had 40% snap share in week number 1, right? So this is some of that week-to-week variance where it seems like they view him as a guy that's kind of on the wrong side of a 60-40 split, maybe a 2/3, 1/3 split. And this just happens to be the week where he goes off. So this is your opportunity to move off of this depreciating asset.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good call, Eric. And like, it's tough for me because I was someone who had Walker as an RB1 coming into the season.
Same.
I don't know if it's health. I don't know if the Seahawks have just made a decision that, hey, we want Zach Charbonnet out there more to preserve Kenneth Walker. If it's a talent thing, I'm not exactly sure what the deal is, but I mean, the facts are the facts that Zach Charbonnet has outsnapped him pretty significantly 2 weeks in a row. And it feels like, last week Ken Walker was inefficient. This week, Zach Charbonnet was inefficient. And I think that Steelers defense is pretty poor. Like, honestly, I really do. At least right now, like, they got a lot of vets. They got, still newer guys into the system who are older, been in a bunch of different schemes, might take some time. Cam Hayward also wasn't in training camp most of the year. He's looked a little slow to begin the season as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think this probably is a good time to cash out of Ken Walker, but at the same time, he's such a talented player. Maybe he gets healthy down the stretch and maybe this comes back to bite you. I think there is a chance of that still, but I think you are probably I would say it's a 70% chance that does not happen. And this is probably a 60-40 or a 50-50 split the rest of the way. And you don't get, your initial ROI back on Ken Walker. Steve, are you also selling Walker here if you can get a good return?
Not yet, because I don't think I'm going to get a good enough return on him. So, yes, the snap share is very concerning. It's no real way to work around that, but it seems like when he's out there, he will be used. And he's getting the opportunities. You know what I mean? Like, it's not he's getting the touches. I think his numbers were obviously inflated. This Pittsburgh defense has a real issue with fast running backs, it seems like, because Breece Hall chewed them up week 1, and now Kenneth Walker has chewed them up week 2. So I think the Steelers defense is just kind of not it. But you got to think that, Charbonnet didn't look good against the Niners either. You know what I mean? It's not like he's doing anything to separate himself. If anyone has separated themselves, it is Kenneth Walker with this game, because why didn't Charbonnet also tear them up?
Yeah, but Sharps wasn't bad against the Niners. 12 for 47 and 1 on the ground. That was efficient enough, right? I mean,
that's a 3.9 yards per carry. It's not very good.
Yeah, but you had 10 for 20 from Ken Walker in that week 1 too. So no, I get it though. You make a solid point that
I think what I'm seeing is that I think 35 will be his low point of
could be
time on the field. I see this much more as 70% chance that this gets better. I think it's a health issue. I know he hasn't been healthy for a long time. I see Kenneth Walker bouncing back a bit. Now, if this snap share holds for another week or two and he has one more kind of beefy game, then I probably sell it if I can get more. But right now, you're just not going to get a return on the investment. You're almost it's like that sunk cost fallacy. You just kind of have to hold and ride.
Speaking of sunk costs, I'll go to my sell and also kind of committing the Cardinal role, but I'm willing to sell low on A.J. Brown right now of the Eagles. I mean, look, dude, like there are times in fantasy where I think you have to cut some losses and consider taking 75 cents on the dollar. And man, this might be it. Like I thought things might change for the Eagles. You know, they lose Kellen Moore. Maybe they go to a more pass-friendly attack. That is not the case, at least through 2 games, folks. The Eagles are dead last right now in pass percentage. They're only passing the ball 40% of the time when they're out there. Kevin Patullo, he's really liking to continue to lean on Saquon Barkley, continue to lean on Jalen Hurts as well as a rusher. I mean, they're running the tush push more than ever, whether it's legal or not sometimes when they're, jumping a little early. They're getting close on third down now and doing it instead. So this team just doesn't throw enough. They have great pass catchers, but they have a really good defense as well. They don't need to go out there and continue to throw the ball a ton unless they're in shootouts. And like, there's also the health risk with A.J. Brown we have to consider here too. Like, missed 3 games last year, getting up there in age a little bit, didn't look healthy in week 1, being used as a decoy. And that's after a preseason injury where he, hurt his hamstring. So I think you still might be able to go out if there's an Eagles fan or just someone who's still high on A.J. Brown and maybe get yourself like a Ladd McConkey or a JSN. You might have to put a little sweetener, like a bench tight end, a bench quarterback, something like that. Maybe throw him a little fab to make the difference up. But I think you could still get someone like that for A.J. Brown. And like, heck, man, like I'd probably even take Mike Evans straight up at this point. And if you would do something like DK Metcalf plus or a Mecca plus, I'd probably do that as well. So, Eric, you're shaking your head. It sounds like you'd also be willing to move off A.J. Brown for something like that.
In that context, certainly, right? I wouldn't view Mike Evans or a Mecca plus or DK plus as 75 cents on the dollar for A.J. Brown, right? Like, I think that's closer to like 88, 90 cents on the dollar.
But I think you could get that.
Yeah, potentially, right? I have no idea how much of a market there is for A.J. Brown because he has some name recognition, but if you kind of look through the seasons that have been, like, it is longer than it feels like since he was a prolific fantasy scorer in terms of really reaching that upside. So I don't disagree with the concern or the willingness or the interest in moving off of him. I think you're a bit bullish on his market out there. That being said, I'm going to give the Eagles a little bit of grace here, right? Like, 2 weeks in, they've been in, incredibly competitive and tough games. Like you mentioned, Kevin Patullo comes in. This is his first 2 games calling plays for this offense. This is essentially their preseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see them passing a bit more.
Okay.
Wouldn't be surprised if we see them pushing the ball down the field a little bit more. Moreover, I would be shocked if their game plan was, we're going to attempt 20 passes a game and only one of them is going to be deeper than 10 yards for the whole of the season, right?
Good point.
This feels like something they would correct for. Don't mind the sentiment. It feels like a weird market to get a gauge of.
Yeah, it probably does. And, maybe it is best to hold for another week and see if we can get, some better numbers, some better productions. Maybe the Eagles get themselves in a bit more of a scoring matchup when they have to go out and, put up some points, or it's just a chalk easy secondary that they get after. So, there might be some solace to holding on to him. I just worry that if it's another bad game, like, you're not getting DK plus or a Mecca or a Mike Evans, anyone like that. So Steve, would you also be selling AJB right now? And who is your sell target for week number 3?
I'm not selling AJ Brown. I'm buying AJ Brown everywhere I can get him, as a matter of fact, because listen, this is deja vu. We did this last year. At week 2. AJ Brown's done. And he finishes wide receiver 24, well below ADP. Worst season of his career by far. Wasn't he hurt at different?
I mean, he did miss time. He did miss 3 games, but he also
wasn't he like wide receiver 8 in points per game or something crazy like that?
I'll verify.
Yeah, like he was great. Like, what AJ Brown does, and this is what will happen. The Eagles do this. They start slow, like on the passing side, and AJ Brown is, a model citizen for a while, but after a minute, he's going to get sick of this. He's not going to be like, oh yeah, no, it's fine for me to have 3 catches for 20 yards. He's like, I'm a superstar, use me or lose me. And at some point, he is going to get mad. and he is going to throw his fit on the sideline, and then he's going to be fed, right? Like, that's just how it happens with wide receivers like A.J. Brown. It happened with him last year. He wasn't being targeted. We were all out on A.J. Brown. Then he threw a fit, and he became an elite wide receiver. Like, so buy A.J. Brown. I get why you're selling, right? Like, because what if it doesn't? Like, I don't know for sure, right?
No,
But
I mean,
like,
wide receiver 12 on points per game last year. So you did, yeah, that was fair. You
yeah,
made a
like,
point.
I mean, it comes back. And if you look at his first few weeks, they're awful. So I'm still in on it. And as far as selling myself, I'm selling. All right, everyone just take a deep breath before I say this. Jackson, Smith-Njigba.
I'm so close just to walking out.
Certifiably insane. Answer Seth's question. Would you sell Mike Evans or Emeka Egbuka or DK plus? Would you sell any of those three for AJ Brown?
Absolutely.
All of them?
All day long. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I imagine you'd sell JSN then. Tell us why.
So JSN is at the peak of his value right this second. He will never be higher. He's not, listen, unless he is going to go for what comes out to about 155 catches and 1,700 yards this season.
Totally reasonable.
Yeah, incredibly reasonable that he's going to shatter the receptions record and then or break it. I'd assume 155 breaks it. Yeah, this is just, I don't believe that this is going to sustain. He's just he's performing at his peak. Now, why I'd say something, do I think he won't like have good weeks and be a good player down the stretch and all that? Of course I do. I think he'll be great. Do I think he'll be this great? No, I don't. And this is why I would sell him now. This is where you can sell a guy like this, fill someone in who will probably compare at least decently well down the stretch to him, like an A.J. Brown, plus another thing, right? You have guys that are underperforming. A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, name it, right? Now, I'm much more high on A.J. Brown than I am DK Metcalf, but even Nico Collins. People are panicking on Nico Collins as well. It will correct. JSN, do you trust Sam Darnold for the rest of the year
maybe
to sustain this in this offense? I don't. I just don't believe in it.
I get it, man, but this is a guy who had 140 targets, 100 receptions in a second year with Geno Smith at quarterback. And, you know, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but I think Sam Darnold is a clear upgrade at this point in his career over Geno Smith. So, and also that was in an offense that had Tyler Lockett was still running around. We also still had DK Metcalf commanding a healthy target share. There's not those people now. It's Cooper Kupp. It's Torrey Horton. I mean, some AJ Barner, some nice players. But JSN is the locked and loaded elite receiver. I think he was criminally undervalued in drafts. I have him in a ton of leagues. And Eric, I'm not letting go of my my pearls here in JSN.
Yeah, I don't think I am either. From a principle standpoint, what Steve shares is fair. This very much so is the peak of JSN's value, right?
But he could probably do this all year.
I just want to know why he won't do this all year.
Why?
Go ahead, Eric.
Because he's not going to shatter records.
I mean, he's not.
For the record, he's not on pace to shatter a record. He would surpass Michael Thomas's record by 6. So not entirely out of the realm of possibility that a player can get north of 150, however absurd a total it may be. Part of my concern is just trading like top flight assets. It's really hard to end up with a circumstance that you're happy with, right? Like either that player gets injured and you're like, great, I dodged a bullet on this one, right. Or the guy that you trade him for kind of returns back to form, but still like the margin of error, the gap between the type of players that you're getting back is rarely enough to where, in my book, it's worth taking on the risk of moving a guy that is an absolute target monster, right? The point I'll push back on the most that you made, Steve, is whether or not Sam Darnold can sustain this over the course of the season. And I think the answer is probably yes. It's a toss-up whether or not he's an upgrade from Geno Smith, but you just look at what Sam Darnold is doing, and he's not exactly setting the world on fire. He's got 68% completion percentage. He's attempting 28 passes a game, right? Like he's not doing anything from a usage and game flow standpoint that would really designate that, these things are super outliery, right? Like,
right. But
if you
what I'm
told
saying
me
is
to
that his
project Sam Darnold for the
efficiency.
season, I would say, like, yeah, 30-ish pass attempts per game. And I don't know, call
So,
it
but what we're saying is that
240 yards a game.
we need Sam Darnold to keep up and JSN to keep up an elite efficiency pace with his target share, right? Because if he's throwing 28 passes a game and 13 of them are going to JSN or 14 are going, like, that's a 50% target share that's converting at a crazy high rate. We're counting on Sam Darnold to keep doing that. We're counting on this offense to keep doing that. They're kind of one-dimensional-ish looking, like they're not great looking. It just, I don't know, like nothing points to, and like, yes, Michael Thomas set 150 catches or 149 catches, but he had Drew Brees. And not to knock Sam Darnold, but he's not Drew Brees. So like, I don't trust it.
That's my point. He's not performing like Drew Brees right now, and he's sustaining JSN in this way. Yes, JSN will regress to the mean, right? Just mathematically.
That's what I'm saying. Is right now he's wide receiver 11. He's wide receiver 11 right now. And if he regresses to not averaging over 100 yards a game, he's going to be wide receiver, 20? That's not great. That's not elite. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he can stay around 11 without getting 12 targets a game, right?
Yeah.
He's got 23 targets through 2 games. Like, it's not like he's catching 16
how many catches
balls
does he
like he's
have?
Hollywood Brown.
I mean,
but how many catches does
He got
he have?
17 catches for 227 yards.
That's a huge conversion rate. That's crazy.
I mean, he's just a good pass catcher, dude. He's not some of these guys who has a low,
a runner.
Yeah, a low.
You're asking for way too much to happen. Like, he's averaging over 100 yards a game.
I'm not. No, you don't even need that, dude. Because like when you're
you do. Because if he holds it where he is, which is wide receiver 11, he's doing it by averaging over 100 yards a game and 9 catches.
Steve, he hasn't found the end zone yet, dog.
Yeah, one of those weeks he has 4 catches for 40 yards and he gets in the end zone and he outscores his production.
Exactly. So no, this is absolute garbage. I took JSN in my home league in the middle of the second round and people laughed at me. Well, I'm laughing at you all now because JSN is a top 12 wide receiver rest of season. I would argue he could mix into the top 8 as well. Let's go ahead, though, gentlemen. Let's round out the fantasy football discussion on tonight's program and get into a little bit of in the scope.
Requesting permission to engage.
In the scope.
All right, it's in the scope. It's our week 3 fantasy football stashes who will be week 4's main waiver wire targets that are under 25% rostered on ESPN. Most of these players actually under even 1% sometimes. So we are going deep here. Last week, we got you ahead of the game once again. We called out Alec Manor. He was someone who still not rostered, is kind of starting to become a big waiver wire guy. I've given you guys like Kareem Hunt, Bashaw Tootin this season. We've shouted out the likes of Booty. We've shouted out Jawan Johnson. So some really interesting players down the stretch. And we got a new crop of in the scope targets. Eric, who do you have lined up for in the scope week number 3?
Yeah, going a little bit deeper, rostered in less than 6% of leagues on average. That is one of my favorite stashes in those dynasty streets, Isaac TeSlaa, a guy who apparently only catches highlight reel balls when he's out there. Unfortunately, at least for those that are bullish on him, the amount of time that he's been out there is fairly limited. 1 catch in each of his 2 professional games. But what is interesting is that looking at last week in particular, his participation took a pretty considerable jump up, right? Week number 1, he scored that SportsCenter top 10 touchdown, but that was on 3 snaps. He was out there for 4% of plays. Now in week number 2, all of a sudden he sees 17 snaps and he's out there for 29% of plays. And specifically, what is interesting is that we're seeing a precipitous drop off in the snap share of one Khalif Raymond. So this very much so could be kind of the last week where TeSlaa is a rotational player and instead starts to emerge as the starting wide receiver 3 or the primary outside or flanker option. And so you can go out there and get him now for a $0 bid. You might be able to scoop him up first come, first serve tomorrow morning and be pretty happy that you do so. Although he is very much so a speculative stash and hold type of ad.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing with Isaac TeSlaa is he's a very talented rookie, I would say. At least the Lions believe so, that they're willing to shell out a ton of draft capital to go up and get him in this 2025 NFL draft. So I do like the prospect. I think the big thing is like you need the Lions offense to continue to be elite, which we saw in week 2. We didn't see so much in week 1. That might be a byproduct of this Green Bay Packers defense, boys, just being absolutely awesome. So somehow holding it down in the secondary with not great options there. But still, nonetheless, TeSlaa is going to have to, find a way to carve out a role with Jama, with ARSB, continue to kind of do their thing. So he kind of almost feels like almost like the David Montgomery of the receivers here, where you need a high value, high efficiency from the Lions to be successful. But if an injury were to happen to Amon-Ra or Jama as well, I mean, people are dumping 100% fab on someone like TeSlaa. So it might not be a bad idea to get a hold of it. For my in the scope target that I'm going to run out in this episode, give me a little Jeremy McNichols of the Washington Commanders, added in just 0.1% of ESPN leagues. Yes, McNichols returns, baby. So I love the nickname, and he's not an exciting player. I don't think he's anything really talent-wise more than a Jag. He might be someone who is shoehorned into this Austin Eckler role that garnered 47% of snaps in week 1, 52% of snaps in week number 2 as well. And if the Commanders aren't ready to trust JCM in pass protection, in which his usage there on Thursday night kind of alludes to that, I think Jeremy McNichols has a role here. In the 3 games, he saw 7+ touches last year, 11.7 fantasy points per game, finishes of RB8, RB28, and RB48. So, always finishing as either a 1, 3, or a 4. So not burning you by any means. I think Jeremy McNichols has a little juice here. So I'm willing to throw it out in the wind and put a little 0 fab bid this week on Jeremy McNichols, just to see if I can get him back on the squad. And either him or Chris Rodriguez are going to be the guy. And I'm playing my flag that McNichols could become someone who's just at least worth a roster spot. If you need a bye week fill-in in the RB2 slot, he could do that. So Steve, throwing it over to you now for your favorite in the scope target for week number 3 of the season.
Yeah, you know me. I love a good bomber, right? So I love my deep threats, and that's Alec Pierce down there in Indianapolis. He played a good amount of snaps. I think he played 64 of 71 snaps or something like that. So he's getting he's on the field. The problem is that the Colts see him as a one-trick pony, and that is he's really fast and he's really big and he's good at catching long passes. But I feel like there's more in there, and I feel like we saw week 1, he was kind of non-existent. Week 2, suddenly got a bit more involved. His usage went up. His participation went up. And I'm like, wait a minute now. And this was against the Denver defense. So this isn't like he was playing against scrubs. This was the best defense in the league, according to some people. I think Alec Pierce might be onto something. I know he'll never be a star. But that's all we're telling you to add, right? If I wanted you to add a star, I'd go tell you to, do something else. But these guys that are under, 25% added, he's at 6%. He's at 1% on ESPN leagues. I mean, this is a guy who's very under the radar. You could get him for $0. I don't think he's going to set the world on fire, but he's a guy you could put in your flex and have a reasonable hope that a deep ball will land in his hands at some point. And usually it's for a touchdown.
Yeah, it's just not the way I like to target my receivers is the issue. It's like I like the production that he puts out there, and he's, the wind sprint king, right? 90% of snaps last week. So the usage did go up. You're 100% on brand there, Steve. I just worry that, what happens when he misses one of those deep threats and he doesn't catch 4 of 5 targets like last week for 68 yards. And it's closer to that week 1 performance where it's 1 for 36 or, even a little bit less. And, we're also putting faith that Daniel Jones remains playing as good as he has right now, which I just don't know if that's the case. But nonetheless, Alec Pierce is a guy that if you needed help at wide receiver, especially this week against Tennessee, I think you could do a lot worse. And if he goes out and balls out in Tennessee, we've seen this song and dance before with him. He's a guy who it seems like every last 2 or 3 years gets attention on the waiver wire. and he might garner some next week if he does have a big week in the Music City. So
I think the great thing about Alec Pierce is that even if Daniel Jones doesn't keep up the production, it doesn't matter. He's the perfect wide receiver that it doesn't matter for, because he only catches a few passes anyway. So he needs one, right? He's not Michael Pittman where he needs 6, 7, 8, 9 passes to like land in his hands to have like a really productive week. That's not his role. It's one pass. He needs one pass to land in his hands, and he could give you a real good week.
Yeah, I think, it depends what you like. Some people do like those, bombers that catch one ball and, hey, I went from 0 points to 10 in a hurry. I prefer, kind of the slow, sluggish, hey, let me get, six receptions. If they're 30 yards, it's 9 points. It is what it is. But hey, to each their own here. Steve's got a high flyer here in Alec Pierce off of the waiver wire that you can grab for absolutely nothing. I went with a guy who would kind of have to slug his way to get up there in Jeremy McNichols. And, of course, Isaac TeSlaa there as well that Eric is shouting out. So appreciate all the great insight here on In the Scope. Let's get to a fantasy football question or two before we get into the betting cards for the week. Jacob saying, my waivers, no fab. It is priority. Dropping Caleb Johnson for Tootin, Sampson for Troy Franklin, Wandale, McCarthy for Daniel Jones, and Fields for Drake May. For context, half PPR, 12 team, throws his team in there for as well. What are your guys' thoughts on these moves? Steve, would you be making these moves? Because I'm totally cool with the first one. I don't know if I want to let Dylan Sampson on my graphs just quite yet.
I like Caleb Johnson for Tootin. I think that's a good one. I'm moving Sampson for Wandale. That's fine. McCarthy for Jones. Good. I'd hold on to Fields. I'm holding Fields. I know he had a bad week. It happens.
If Drake May's out there, though, I would rather have Drake May's just consistent. I don't know if I want to ride that Justin Fields injury / inconsistency train.
But you have Daniel Jones in this world, right?
Yeah.
So now you're adding like 2 quarterbacks.
I would just go add one of these quarterbacks. Like pick your
right. So keep Justin Fields.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like he needs someone to play this week. Justin Fields probably isn't playing, so
I get Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not dropping Sampson, dude. There's still a chance that there's a suspension coming for Quinshawn. There's a chance that Sampson's role expands a little bit more here. I think there was almost like a Tank Bigsby type of feel out there for Jerome Ford, that maybe they're trying to offer him up to someone just because how much they were running out Ford and how mediocre he looked, especially in the pass catching game. So Eric, would you make any of these moves?
I would hang on to Sampson. I think that there's some runway for his role to expand, and just these unsettled backfields, like they are the birthplace of value, right? Everyone's excited about the limited work from Quinshon Judkins, but we're 1 week into this experiment, and there are outcomes on that range where Sampson can be a very viable option. So I'm not ready to cut ties with Sampson yet. Mm-hmm. I'm probably just picking up one quarterback, or at least picking one quarterback of this list, and it might still be Fields, honestly. If he's out, you can pop him into your IR spot potentially and go get Drake May or Daniel Jones or whatever replacement level quarterback is out there.
I traded Emeka Egbuka for Ashton Genty today. Thoughts from Pokey Sports? I mean, brother, pop a beer, light one up, throw a chew in the upper decky, like whatever you got to do to celebrate, brother, do it right here. Because while I love Emeka Egbuka, getting someone who, in my opinion, still has top 6 upside at the running back position, I think still has RB1 upside on the table. I'm here for it, and sounds like you guys are as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
this is great.
Yeah. Well done, Pokey Sports. It's an A+ for me, man. And here we have Parakayo in the chat as well, saying trade JSN and Pollard for Brian Thomas Jr. and Travion Henderson. I have Etienne. Also, I'd have 2 Jaguar starters. So this is a move at the beginning of the season I'd be all over. I had JSN as a top 5 wide receiver. I had Henderson as a top 15 running back. I really like JSN, though. We just made the case for him quite heavy. I think this is a lateral move, which I'm fine if you want to do it, Eric, but you do have the caveat here that he would have 2 Jaguar starters. So your thoughts on this move from our friend Kaio.
I don't want to give my thoughts because Steve put some inflammatory language out there about JSN, and I would like to hear his thoughts first.
Believe it or not, I'm holding JSN and Pollard in this deal. I am holding JSN.
Correct answer.
Because I don't like what I saw out of BTJ. He's either hurt or has a PG. Like I don't know how to say this in a nice way, but he kind of wimped out.
Yep. He did. I agree. Yeah, he
more than once.
I mean, let's just say that, like, I think we can all say what it is. BTJ cost the Jaguars that game. There are multiple plays that he did, whether it was the falling down.
Alligator arms. He got alligator arms.
And then he got the alligator arms too. Yeah.
He got the alligator arms. And I know it's not entirely his fault. Listen, let me lay this out here right now.
We got to move quickly, but please.
All right, I'm going to say this quick. BTJ is a lot tougher than I will ever be, but Trevor Lawrence is the king of hospital balls.
Yeah.
I get why he didn't want to go for it.
Yeah, good point. Yep, I think you're on brand. Yeah, I just don't want that much exposure to the Jaguars here. Like, if you want to go after Henderson and buy him low, I'm cool with it. If you want to maybe move Pollard and try to get BTJ back that way without giving JSN up, can you give Pollard plus something, another cruddier receiver to get someone like BTJ?
I don't want BTJ at all.
No?
No, I think he was fool's gold heading into the season, and it's only gotten worse.
I'm okay with him still, but Monty's Aquarium here to round out the questions. Need a wide receiver. Should I trade DeAndre Swift, Judy for Terry McLaurin and Henderson? My other running backs are Etienne, CMC. Also have JSN as my number one wide receiver. Smart people here on the program. A lot of JSN love.
That's
Appreciate that. Monty. First of all, shout out Pokey and Paraco for your questions. Hope you guys subscribe to the channel if you're new. For Monty here, I'd be okay with this deal. I'm not the biggest Terry McLaurin guy this season, but I still think he's an upgrade over Judy. And I think in a couple weeks, Henderson will not even look like a lateral move, but I think he'll look like an upgrade over Swift. So if you're in a good position where you're 1-1, 2-0 in your league, Monty, I'm fine with this deal. Steve, are you as well?
I'm going to hold Swift and Judy in this deal.
Okay. Yeah. So
I'll break the tie. I'm taking the Henderson McLaurin side.
Okay. All right. So 2 for McLaurin. Guys, let's go ahead. Let's continue with the program here. Some between bets coming right your way with our NFL week number 3 betting cards.
Between bets. Between bets.
It's between bets. It's our week 3 NFL early betting cards. We're going to give you our favorite plays for the ATS totals, money line, markets. We'll also shout out maybe a couple player props we're leaning. It is Tuesday at the time of recording, so we're a little bit early in those markets. And we'll also hit our touchdown call contest at the end of the program. But let's start by recapping week 2. Gentlemen, how did the cards fare for you guys? Because I was in the green once again. College football has not been falling. NASCAR has not been falling right now for me, but I've been seeing the field well on the professional level of the football field. So hit the Tyler Warren over receiving yards, hit the Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown for multiple units. Also, the parlay of the week got home. That was over CeeDee Lamb on his reception total, over on his receiving total. And it was a sweater, but Cowboys money line came through. Thank you, Brandon Aubrey. So, Eric, it seemed like you were once again profitable by doing such an interesting approach here yet again in week number 2.
Yeah. So started week number 2 with perfection on the against the spread and totals. Market went 3-0 with the Bengals minus 3.5. A beautiful cover, if I do say so myself. Then we had the Patriots getting 1.5. They obviously won that one outright. And Chargers and Raiders did not disappoint. Under 46.5 was the mark there. And then I kind of peed down my leg in the prop market. The only prop of the 5 that I put in there, of the 4 I put in there, I should say, that hit was Puka Nacua going over on his reception totals. So 1 and 3 in the prop market. And then my favorite strategy, at least one of my most fun ways to sweat out the weekend, got back into the ladder market. This time went two piece. I circled right back around to Joe Flacco's passing attempt ladder. It's a 6-rung ladder going from 34 all the way up to 44. Cashed all 6 of those bets.
Wow.
And trickled out a little bit of a step stool, a 3-legged ladder, that being Drake May's rushing yards. Hit the 15 plus, hit the 25 plus.
Well done.
A little short of the 40 plus.
Can you explain what a ladder is?
Yeah. Yep. Ladders to new bettors. That's basically when you're starting at a lower number and you're just stacking those up, that you're taking the Joe Flacco. What was that number you started at? You said, Eric, 34?
Started at 34 pass attempts.
34. So you're starting at 34 for maybe your whole unit. Maybe then you're going to 35 for 3/4 of a unit. As you continue to move up the ladder, you're scaling down that unit size. Correct, Eric?
Generally, I like to kind of bracket it a little bit. Usually on the lower end, I'll do like 2 half units and then move to quarter units as we get further and further up. That way you're really kind of free rolling on those last rungs if you hit the first couple, right? That's typically how I walk those out.
Yeah, and even with him getting pulled at one point to see the young rookie Dylan Gabriel, you hit that. So nice hit on there for you. Steve, any luck for you in the betting streets in week number 2?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. We'll leave it at that. Let's get right into our picks. And Steve, you have a chance to bounce right back here in week 3. Where are you going in the ATS market?
Oh, I'm ready to get hurt again. And I'm going to add a little caveat to this one that I'm going to wait a bit. I just need to hear a little bit about Justin Fields on this one, but I'm going to go with the New York Jets +7 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's a lot of points. Plus anything over a touchdown, like a full touchdown, an extra point, I usually will take that. I know the Dolphins are getting 12.5 against the Bills, and that also is really enticing to me because that's a lot of points, right? Like +7, this could be done in garbage time. You know what I mean? So I really like this. I expect, I don't want to keep, if it doesn't happen, I may move off the Jets. I've been in on the frisky Jets this season. I believe Aaron Glenn will fix this defense. There's too much talent for how bad this defense looks this season, right? Like he has to make an adjustment, or if this keeps going, he might be a one and done. Like it's been that bad.
And that's why I feel like it'd be hard for me to want to get invested in the Jets. I would understand if they were like a home dog, right? Like the home dog over a touchdown play, very popular. One of the more popular plays out there, especially early on in the NFL season. It's just a little hard for me to trust them against Tampa Bay, who has looked pretty good, at least pulling out games so far. But I understand.
But they're pulling out games.
Yeah, 7's a big number, so I understand there. Eric, you're also here in the ATS market. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I'm going back to a team that I find myself wagering on pretty frequently, that being the Los Angeles Chargers. I like them to cover 2.5 points at home versus the Denver Broncos. Look, this is a team that I think if the game goes according to their plan, they have the personnel and the coaching minds to play Denver's game and beat them at their own game. And then you look at what Denver's done through 2 weeks, and granted, they're 1-1. They realistically should be an 0-2 team, right? They have gotten in their own way and made a number of careless mistakes. So looking at what I believe to be very competitive and potentially a deep playoff run slated team with the Los Angeles Chargers, only laying 2.5 at home, I'm happy to wager that -110 over at DraftKings.
Let's go to the money line plays, where we have a squad ride for the first time this season. Eric and myself both on the Houston Texans money line, +105 from our friends over at ESPN Bet against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, I get it's been a pretty tough start for the Houston Texans, but for them to be dogs in this really feels like a bit of an overreaction by the books right now. They have won 3 of 4 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, never lost by more than 3 in the CJ Stroud era. And the big issue here that you're often seeing for the Texans is that their offensive line is absolutely cheap. So I get it. I get why the hesitation would be to fade this team into oblivion. But the Jags defensive line, in my opinion, is pretty mid at best. So they only got 1 sack against Carolina, which has a pretty good offensive line in week 1, and then only 3 against Cincy last week. were able to knock Joe Burrow out of that game. But, for the most part, especially towards the end of that game when Browning got in, they're holding up a little bit better there. So I think that we can potentially see a little bit sturdier of a Houston Texans offensive line. And I don't think that they're the type of team that will go, defeated here through the first stretch, especially in a divisional game. These can get weird, but I think they can hopefully continue to run the ball with Nick Chubb. He's looked like the best running back there. Let's mix in Woody Marks, find Nico Collins. Can we get some receivers involved? Can Jaden Higgins see the field? Can Jaylen Noel? Everyone wants to know on the internet, why are the Texans offense so bad? One, it's that line. We just talked about it. Two, they spent two of their first 3 picks in the draft on wide receivers that aren't even touching the field barely. So I need to see more of that. Higgins' 1 catch last week was brilliant. I want to see it again. Eric, I'm sure so do you, as they're also running this money line out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And I get why we're getting plus money on this, right? I have watched, fortunately, every snap of every Texans game this year and for several years. And it's a hard watch. There are plenty of points where you find yourself just scratching your head. What is this offense trying to do? What is their overarching concept and scheme? How do they sequence their plays to build off one another? Like, it's a tough scene out there for the Texans, but I think your sentiment is bang on that this is a bit of an overreact here, right? The Texans, from a personnel standpoint, are light years ahead of what the Jags are trotting out there. And while it wasn't pretty, CJ Stroud only had 11 pressures in that week 2 game. I think moving the rookie Ursary back to his natural left tackle position did bring some stability to that line. There were points where he was operating out of a clean pocket. He was able to have some time to move the ball down the field. Now his pressure rate is closer to middle of the pack instead of clearly the last in the league. So some things pointing up from a offensive line perspective for the Texans as well.
We're in the trenches here in week number 3, baby. Steve, staying with the money line market, you've got an upset special coming out there in the city of brotherly love. What do you have?
I do, and I'm taking the best team in the NFC right now, and that's the Los Angeles Rams to upset the reigning Super Bowl champions. Listen, this Rams defense, they're legit. They're good. They're good top to bottom. It's weird because I thought their secondary would be trash. It's not. That pass rush, elite. Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk, elite. Like, it's coming up. It looks good. And then on the offensive side, you know what? Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, they are showing that you can be a 2-man show and get the job done, right? Like, and we're seeing an absurd, like, historic levels of target shares going at these guys. But look at the Rams team and tell me where the weakness is. You can't really find it. And I think this is just such a complete team. And the Eagles have looked good, not great this season, right? Like, they've looked fine, but they do seem like they're searching for an identity a bit on offense, other than, like, we're just going to hold the ball as long as possible, and you just can't score because you don't have it. It's like, all right, but it's not going to work every time. I smell an upset on the horizon. I think there's, to quote a song that I love, Avi Kaplan, I think there's some change on the rise in the NFC power dynamics.
Okay, well, I'll be excited to see it. I want to get to a couple comments here from our friend at Pokesports saying Cardinals Cowboys best underdogs for him this week, in his opinion. Appreciate that. And also saying Lions plus 185 on DK is crazy for that money line. Should be closer to a pick 'em. I agree. I definitely do think there is some EV there on the Lions. I figured this would be closer to a pick 'em. I didn't think there would be such a wide margin. But at the same time, you can get all the EV in the world and you still can sometimes not get it to the window. So it's just about kind of picking your spots. And I agree that I think there's some value there. I still don't know if I would be hesitant or confident enough to bet it, but I appreciate that insight there from our friend in the chat. Let's get to some totals, guys. Really excited about this first one here. I am on the under of Las Vegas Raiders against the Washington Commanders, 44.5 points, minus 110 at DraftKings. Both of these teams have been two of the better teams to bet the under on this season, 0-2, both of them already this season. And I'm not afraid to bet the under in a game that is likely going to feature Geno Smith at quarterback for the Raiders and potentially Marcus Mariota at quarterback for the Commanders. Mariota's last start was a 19-13 win against the Falcons in late November, back a couple years ago. And even if Jane Daniels is in this game as well, he hasn't seemed to really look like himself so far this season. Terry McLaurin, I think, being out early in that preseason, missing some time in camp, adjusting some new runners in the backfield, new weapons out there in Deebo Samuel, is also taking some time. So, and also, boys, like what I witnessed on Monday night from Geno Smith was unjust. That was disgusting. This
You
guy
felt victimized by it.
Oh my God. He came out. I'm excited. I got a lot of Ashton Genty. I got some Brock Bowers teams.
Didn't someone warned you about that, didn't he?
Fair. But to see Geno Smith come out on the first play and just try to gunsling it in there and throw one of the worst picks I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the guy thought he had an absolute rifle, and it was such a bad look. Come back and do it just a couple of drives later. It was bad, man. It was a bad look for Geno Smith. So I'm not afraid to bet the under here. Steve, you also have an over, in the total market going to that Thursday night affair out in Buffalo.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the over in the Dolphins-Bills game because it's 49.5. Now, the spread is 12.5 points. I don't think the Dolphins are going to score 0. So I think they're saying that the Bills are going to score a gazillion points here, right? Because they don't have that good of a defense. They allowed 40 points week 1. And then Justin Fields got a concussion, and the Jets just didn't look like they knew how to play football last week. But the Dolphins just scored 30 points on the Patriots, who have a half-decent defense. I'm not sitting here saying, like, oh, yeah, this is going to be an absolute, like, this close of a game. But if you're giving me a 12.5-point spread, I'm just assuming that the Bills are going to score a bunch of points on a Dolphins defense that, have they stopped anyone yet? Like, at all? I mean, this team is finding it new and literally new and exciting ways to lose. They take a punt return back. I need to know if this has ever happened. They take a punt return back for a touchdown, kick the ball off, and Antonio Gibson takes it back for a touchdown, and they blow the lead.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible the way this team is finding ways to lose. I think they're a good offense. They're a terrible defense, and that's a recipe for a lot of points. It's 25 points apiece. I'm in.
Okay. All right. And Eric, you have a player prop that you're already down on. It was actually one that I was also considering getting invested with for Thursday night. So what do you have for us staying out there in the great city of Buffalo?
Yeah, going to the reigning MVP, to the signal caller, that being Josh Allen. Looking at his rushing line, and for some reason, it's all the way down at 26.5, at least courtesy of our friends over at Hard Rock. Other books have it at 27, 20. I think I've seen some 29s out there. So this one is a clear over in my book. Josh Allen has surpassed this total in both of his games this year, but also he's going up against those Miami Dolphins that currently sit 6th in rushing yards allowed to the quarterback position this season. So should be plenty of yardage on the table for Josh Allen.
Yeah, I almost went with him as one of my touchdown calls this week, but it was just really hard to drink like minus 160 on a quarterback. But I understand with, how they made Drake May look last week. Daniel Jones in week 1, the quarterbacks have been boot scooting and boogieing around this this defense there in Miami. So, gentlemen, let's go ahead and let's get to the touchdown calls, and let's update the touchdown call contest leaderboard. Again, you guys can get invested with it over there by joining the IBT football family. That's our premium community where you're going to get access to our Discord, memorabilia giveaways, our full betting cards each and every week. Also, the touchdown contest where you can win yourself a nice little plaque. You can see it there on the touchdown call contest. We'll give you some IBT swag as well, but that's from Dynasty Decks. There's some great partners of us. Love working with them and love doing the touchdown call contest. We have Jake Perry in a 4-way tied in the lead with our boy Steve, Trav, Rob, all at 4 touchdown calls. You only get 2 calls a week, so averaging 1 per call there. I'm at 3 here, holding it down there in 5th. Ben, James sit there in 6th and 7th. And then on the board, finally, Eric and Trash and Tyler Bradley also still on the board, sitting there with 1. So, boys, we have some touchdown calls to make yet again. And I'll throw it over to you, Steve. You've been taking a lot of shrapnel today, some disagreement in the takes. So let's lift each other up here with some nice touchdown calls. What do you got?
You want them both?
I want them both. I want them both. I want them both.
All
You're
right,
in the league.
so let's clarify
you can't choke
something.
here. You can't
Let's
choke.
clarify something. He's not throwing it over to me because I'm in the league. He's throwing it over to me because, first off, I am going with Brock Bowers, plus 120, anytime touchdown. But then I'm going to show some love to your boy, Tyler Warren.
We are.
He's going to go for a touchdown, plus 205 on DraftKings. I think it's time. We're going to see Tyler Warren get into that end zone. And I don't know how it'll be, but he's getting way too involved to not score a touchdown here in an offense that's scoring points by the bucket. I don't think they've punted yet. There's not been one possession they've had where they've not scored points. And Tyler Warren, I don't think has fallen into the end zone yet. So make it make sense. Just by the numbers, it's time for him to fall into the end zone. And honestly, the numbers are what I go by. It's just, hey, the odds state after X many catches, he's either Deontay Johnson or he'll fall into an end zone. I believe Tyler Warren is going to fall into the end zone this week. But Brock Bowers is the other guy that I would absolutely, you could take it to the bank that he's going to do well. Because he is playing, I forgot, the Commanders, who just got absolutely boat raced by Tucker Kraft, who's not nearly as good as Brock Bowers. So
Good point.
Bank on it.
Okay. All right. For my touchdown calls, I got two actually at plus money this week. First one, CeeDee Lamb Anytime TD plus 105 over there from Bet365. Hasn't scored a touchdown as well in 24 targets, 16 receptions, 222 yards. The Bears have allowed a league high 5 touchdowns, 2 wide receivers, 4 last week, 1 in week number 1 as well. They also just lost their cornerback one, Jaylen Johnson, out indefinitely with a groin injury. I think CeeDee finds some pay dirt here in week number 3. And then also give me a little Zay Flowers Anytime TD. Don't love the number plus 125. I think I'll see if I can.
So low.
Yeah, I'll see if I can maybe find a boost. But I mean, here's the thing, dude. You're looking at a guy in Zay Flowers, 42.6% of target share for the Ravens in the 2 weeks that they've played so far this season. 20 targets, a 15.6 yards per reception as well. He's making the plays down the field. He's getting looks. I mean, how many over the top balls over the right or left shoulder did Lamar miss him on last week? And he's still getting those manufactured touches underneath. He also had 3 rushing opportunities over the past 2 weeks too. He's getting kind of that Rashee Rice role with a little bit of down the field action too. So really like what we've seen out of Zay, and the Lions are a perfect recipe for him. They've allowed 3 touchdowns this season, 2 wide receivers, 2 to Rome Odunze last week, 1 to Jaden Reed in week 1. Very similar players to Zay Flowers, in my opinion, kind of that shiftier, more mobile guy out there. So really like them. Sign me up for a player to score a touchdown in the highest total on the slate, 51.5 points, 2 points higher than any other game. So there you have it, Zay Flowers, and also a little CeeDee Lamb action on the Anytime TDs. Eric, where are you going for your touchdown calls?
So I like to apply a little bit of a game theory to all this. As part of the reason, it's probably the only reason why I've only gone found pay dirt on one of my
saving the
picks.
Big ones for last, huh?
I like to save the big ones for last. That, and I don't want to squad ride with Seth twice in one show. CeeDee Lamb call is a beautiful one that I was taking a long, hard look at. Instead, I'll look at a player that I believe will have his greatest opportunity to score maybe in the entirety of the 2025 season, that being Jordan Mason. We know that Aaron Jones has been ruled out for this upcoming game. And so now he has the inside track. He's already looked like the more explosive runner. They've already been giving him ample opportunity inside the red zone. And when they're in scoring position, I think this is the week that he converts it out. And I think that this is an opportunity to get a player while he is sort of the flavor of the month. So minus 125 is the price tag that we have, thanks to our friends over at Fanatics. And in my second pick is one that Steve is absolutely going to love. Touchdown monster Drake London getting plus 155 over at DraftKings to score that touchdown. Look, if nothing else, Michael Penix knows where his bread is buttered. Drake London already has 2 end zone targets where he is being targeted while in the end zone on the very young season. And those are the highest propensity targets to convert into touchdowns. So the way that they're using him in a matchup against a hapless Carolina secondary, I like Drake London to find the box this week.
Let's get a couple questions from the chat, and then we'll get out of here. Brandon, what's up, Brandon? Hope you're having a great Tuesday night. Saying accept or decline, getting Genty for Adams and Javonte.
No.
I don't think I can do this, and I love Genty, but I just don't think I can do this. Eric, what about you?
I am only doing this if I am inserting Adams and Javonte into my starting lineup. If either of those guys are even somewhat close calls as to whether or not they're flexible for you, then I would stick with Genty.
I think he's getting Genty for Adams and Javonte.
Ooh, I would probably take a long look at this.
I'm not.
I think in a vacuum, I would do this.
I would not.
I think I would want to, but it would be tough.
You want Ashton Genty to turn into what Javonte Williams is currently doing?
Yeah, kind of. Honestly, yeah. That's a hope.
We also have a expansive sample size of Javonte Williams not being this player.
Yeah.
I know, but he is it right now. I don't know. I think it could last.
Speaking of Javonte Williams, will you trade him for Zay Flowers? Yes, I would personally. I'm in on Zay Flowers, man. Like I just went over some of those numbers right there. I mean, not only is the target share real, Eric, but the first read, target share is really, really good too. And like starting to also use him in the red zone a bit more. I think Lamar's kind of figuring out, look, like Mark Andrew doesn't have the hands he used to, so he's got to find something. And I just think he kind of got overlooked last week a little bit in those end zone shots that went to the likes of Nuke and some of the other boys that I can't even name them, honestly. They're that
Devontae Walker, put some respect on his name.
All right. Well, yeah, Devontae Walker and I can't even. The other Texas. No, it wasn't James Prochet. I don't know. Someone in that vein. Go ahead, though, Eric. Any thoughts on this trade?
I like the Zay side of it as well. I like what we've seen from him taking a step forward. The way that they are scheming him open and getting him those design plays is very, very promising.
Yeah, just make sure you have good running backs here. Steve, would you also be willing to make this type of move? And that receiver that I did shame as well right there, it was Tylan Wallace. So not James Prochet, but like similar ilk, right?
Yeah, similar ilk. But no, I'm holding Javonte in this deal. Running back is too valuable a position to trade for a low volume guy in Zay Flowers.
Okay. All right. Santiago, trade Chase Brown, Ricky Pearsall, and Jaylen Waddle for Etienne, McMillan, and Marvin Harrison.
Yes, you do. And that hurts me to say. Here, I'll start. I love Jaylen Waddle. I talked about him as a buy candidate. I don't love Chase Brown. I don't love Ricky Pearsall. I do like Travis Etienne and Tet McMillan the rest of the year. So really, this comes down to I like two of the players more on one side, and I like one of the players on the other side. Etienne and McMillan, Tet is in an awful offense and is still putting up good numbers. Etienne is putting up crazy rushing efficiency. I've talked about why I don't like Chase Brown. Ricky Pearsall, hit or miss, kind of not it for me. Marvin Harrison has upside enough to cover Jaylen Waddle for me right now in this trade. So I would absolutely do that.
I just don't get why. This feels like a lateral move at best for me. And like, in my opinion, you're giving up the best player in Chase Brown. And while I do like Tedero McMillan out of all these wide receivers in this lot, I like Ricky Pearsall more than Marvin Harrison Jr. And like, so it's fair. It's fair, but I just don't want to do it. I don't want to give up my elite asset in Chase Brown. I think you can get more for him if you hold for another week or two. I think people will start feeling better about it. Eric, your thoughts here for Santiago?
A couple of principles are sort of conflicting here. I agree that Chase Brown is the best player in this trade, and I don't like to move off of the best player. Secondarily, moving off of Waddle when he's injured might not be the worst idea. I think overall, fair trade. I don't really understand the theory as to why you're doing it.
Right. It feels like you're just trading to trade.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. He's getting Travis Etienne, who's elite right now. And all right, Chase Brown does not have Joe Burrow for 3 months. Like, can we be so for real right now about this? Like, this is going to be a nightmare.
That is a feature, not a bug.
That's a bad thing.
Yeah, we already spent 10 minutes on it, so we're not going to go back to it. But guys, this has been the IBT podcast. Thank you all so much for the questions. We hope you're all having a great Tuesday evening and continue to have a great rest of your week number 3 of the NFL season right here. And if you guys can do us a quick favor, thank you for riding along. Please give this video a thumbs up. Also, make sure you're subscribing to the channel. We've got fantasy football and NFL betting content for you all season long: college football betting, NASCAR betting, PGA betting, and even some entertainment betting, all to help you cash more and to enjoy the ride along the way. Also, be sure to check out inbetweenmedia.com for some dope written content and some upcoming live events coming soon to the calendar for 2026 for Eric Romoff and Steven Lawson. And of course, our guy in the back end, Kyle Scott. I'm Seth Woolcock. Thanks for watching, and keep it in between until next time.